I eat quite a bit of animal products like eggs, bacon, and beef. Usually, when I do this around people, I hear questions like, Rob, aren't you worried about your heart, or aren't you worried you're going to clog your arteries? No, I'm not. And here's why. The reasoning that we've been using for decades to avoid foods that are high in cholesterol and saturated fat, like butter, bacon, and cheese, those reasons were based on studies that were either poorly designed, poorly implemented, or poorly interpreted, sometimes bordering on being doctored or adulterated. We've started to become more aware of this over the past few years, and that word is getting out thanks to YouTube and several books that have come out over the past few years. This is becoming more well known, and people are starting to eat more of these foods. However, there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of spreading awareness that these foods should not have been demonized in the first place. I'm talking about high-fat, high-cholesterol foods. So then you might be wondering now, what does cause heart disease and what does cause atherosclerosis or arterial disease? And those are both fairly complicated conditions with many causes and many root causes. But I'll touch briefly on atherosclerosis, or arterial disease, arterial damage, more specifically the presence of a sterol, like cholesterol, being lodged in the lining of the artery. The common thought process is that when you eat cholesterol, the cholesterol levels in your blood increases, and then that increased level of cholesterol in your blood causes it to get jammed into arteries and also causes you to get heart disease. And while that line of thinking, I understand how that makes sense in our head. Many people use the pouring bacon grease down the sink. Many people use that line of thinking, but there's lots of stuff I don't pour down my sink that I would eat and I'll be just fine. I also don't shove chicken breasts down my sink, and I have no problem eating those. Anyhow, when we eat dietary cholesterol, when we eat foods that have cholesterol in them, the amount of cholesterol contained in that food is a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of cholesterol that our body already has in it. Not only is the amount of cholesterol that we eat small compared to the amount in our body, but also our body produces its own cholesterol, and it produces as much as it needs. There are a couple of systems in the body that do not produce cholesterol, but aside from those two, we produce cholesterol on our own. Now, what causes atherosclerosis, the arterial disease that I mentioned? Usually, if I understand correctly, what happens is there are little carrier proteins circulating around in our blood that carry cholesterol in them. And a certain subset of these proteins, a certain type of these proteins, can get lodged in artery walls. When those get lodged, they set off a reaction of inflammation and an immune response that makes it easier for more proteins to become lodged in the artery wall, thus perpetuating the problem, causing this buildup of gunk, this buildup of plaque. So you may be wondering, well, what causes this to happen? What causes for elevated numbers of these proteins? What causes for these proteins to become stuck in the side of artery walls. You need inflammation, and to increase the number of these proteins in your blood to an excessive level, that's driven by sugar intake and refined carbohydrates. So rather than looking at bacon, eggs, and beef as the culprit, the real culprit is an inflammatory diet and a diet high in sugars and refined carbs. That's what you should worry about. So how do you avoid this arterial disease? You may try eating an anti-inflammatory diet, so lots of vegetables, lots of unprocessed meats. Take it easy on the refined carbs, stick to whole food carbs. Cut out unnatural oils like soybean oils and vegetable oils. Those are typically paired with processed carbs in junk foods and packaged products out there in the grocery store. So just steer clear of that crap. You don't need it. And eat the yolk. Eat the yolk. Eat eggs. Eat bacon. Eat bacon. Eat beef. Eat real foods. That'll go way farther for you than trying to cut fat and whatnot. So, you'd probably be better off served at breakfast, skipping the Special K, skipping the Totals, skipping the Cheerios, and have yourself some good bacon and eggs. Have yourself some sausage. I see no reason why you should worry about that. So in summary, cut down on the inflammatory foods, cut down on the refined carbs, cut down on the sugar. Oh, and reduce your stress. Forgot to mention that. Reduce stress. That's also very inflammatory. And eat real foods. That'll do wonders for you in terms of your risk of artery disease and heart disease. Eat the yolk, man. Eat beef. Eat bacon. Enjoy yourself. Steer clear of the processed crap that's come to our tables over the past 50, 60 years. You don't need it. It's doing you no good. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below or shoot me an email, rob@arthurhealth.com. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.